Hello, dear friends. Welcome to the last amazing day of discussion of questions for Kerala set. So we have already discussed a lot of questions based on PYQs from all the different areas. Today we are bringing you a few more than 20 questions. And I hope these authors and works will be useful for you in the exam. If you don't know any of these authors or works, don't worry. At least what you get from here, from us, may help you. Okay? So just relax and listen to me and Ankita. We will just help you in the last minute with whatever we know. And I'm sure you'll do amazingly well after the exam. In case some of you are preparing for other exams, we have starting here a Telangana set quiz program and also a Tamil Nadu set quiz program with about 10,000 questions, so many questions. Every day we will give a lot of quizzes. So soon after Kerala set, you can join those quiz programs to keep yourselves updated. We are also starting Karnataka set course. It's a full-fledged course. And also CUET PG GATE courses. Ankita will be there with us in these courses also. So this is a long journey we are doing together. Since everybody has joined, Ankita, shall we go and talk about the first question?
Yes.
Ankita is ready. So are you? Here is the first question. Ankita, would you like to read?
Okay. So here you have to match the characters and the novels we find them in. Here we have the characters like Tom Canty, Stubb, Eliza, and Thomas Sutpen. And here we have Moby Dick, the Prince and the Pauper, Absalom, and Uncle Tom's Cabin. So we have to match the characters and the novels.
Incidentally, all are American novels. And one is very easy. Moby Dick. But the character is not a very famous novel, famous character. In Moby Dick, Starbuck and Stubb are two members of the crew. They are assistants of Ahab. Moby Dick is by Herman Melville, of course, the author of Typee, White Jacket, Billy Budd, etc. So, for sure, B is one. There's only one, B1. Tom Canty is in Mark Twain's The Prince and the Pauper. There are two people, one rich and one poor. One rich and one poor. Rich boy is King Edward VI. Pauper is Tom Canty. Eliza is the runaway slave in Uncle Tom's Cabin. Thomas Sutpen is in Absalom. Right, Ankita? So
Yes.
that is the answer. Okay. Can you please read?
Which one of these is not a novel of Leslie Merman Silko? Is it Ceremony of the Dead or Ceremony, Almanac of the Dead, Gardens in the Dunes, or Love Medicine? One of these is not a novel by Leslie Merman Silko.
Leslie Marmon Silko is a Native American writer. Many of you might know she wrote Ceremony. Ceremony is a very widely prescribed book in university syllabi. And it is about Tayo, a boy who is having a troubled relationship with his native identity. Incidentally, Almanac of the Dead and Gardens in the Dunes are also by Leslie Marmon Silko. Ankita, do you know who wrote Love Medicine? That is also a Native American writer.
Yes, it is by Louis Erdrich who wrote this work, Love Medicine.
Louis Erdrich is also a Native American writer. So, dear friends, remember this. Okay, Ankita, as you read the question, Ankita, you can also explain if you want. Please go ahead.
Meghnad Bad Kavya. It's a Bengali epic poem by which writer? Sarojini Naidu, Madhusudhan Dutt, Toru Dutt, or Rabindranath Tagore? who wrote this epic poem. It's a Bengali epic poem, very important. It talks about the demise of the son of Ravan, that is Indrajit, or Meghnad, as he was called.
And this man was from a very big family. That family had so many writers and scholars. And now you know the answer. It is Michael Madhusudan Dutt. So remember everybody, Michael Madhusudan Dutt wrote Meghnad Badhkavya, Tilottama, and many other epic poems. These early Indian writers could be important in Kerala set as in any other exam that is happening recently. Identify the correct chronology. We have the novels of R.K. Narayan here. I'm not reading every option. We have English teacher, Mr. Sampath, the financial expert, and the dark room. You should know that the English teacher came towards the beginning of his career, but then it is coming either in first position or second position everywhere. Definitely Mr. Sampath was not before English teacher. It is one of the later novels. And you should know that financial expert is one of the last novels. And incidentally, the dark room came before English teacher. So the answer is the dark room, the English teacher, Mr. Sampath, and the financial expert. Ankita, would you like to speak a little more about any of these works?
Yes. So all of these are novels by R.K. Narayan. And here, to go from last to first, The Financial Expert. It's a wonderful novel by R.K. Narayan, which talks about the financial expert here called Margaya. And here the theme of the novel is lust for money. But here, Margaya has been shown as a very human character. He's not a monster of greed, but he's a very human character, right? And it shows that despite his lust for money, he's still a human being, right? Okay, so the next novel we can talk about is, which is a novel here? The English Teacher. It's a series of novels by R.K. Narayan, which started with Swami and Friends, The Bachelor of Arts, and The English Teacher. Then The Dark Room. It's also a novel by R.K. Narayan, which talks about how a woman is almost harassed by her husband. And whenever she is abused by her husband, she goes into a room, dark room, and she sits there alone with a door closed. So that also talks about how women have been abused systematically in the patriarchal structure. And Mr. Sampath, he's the printer of Malgudi. So these are very important works, and please remember the chronology of the novels of R.K. Narayan. Almost in every exam, such chronology comes.
Thank you, Ankita. Whenever I ask you to say something, you literally give a mini lecture. I'm so proud of you, Ankita. Do you know, guys, Ankita came to us as a BA student and that did courses after courses after courses, went to JNU and presented a lot of papers abroad in university conferences, etc. I'm so proud of you. So, dear friends, study like this. We will all be able to do a lot of things because of continuously studying. You should be happy and relaxed before the exam because you should be proud that you have learned so much. Match the characters and novels of Shashi Deshpande. Many of you might be confused. I myself am confused. So many women's names. Jaya, Mata, Sita, Urmi, Indu, you know. But some are very famous novels, so you should know. You should know that Bimla or Bim is in Clear Light of Day. You should know Urmi is in Binding Wine. You should know Jaya is in That Long Silence. These are very famous novels that are always prescribed in universities, even Roots and Shadows, where Indu is the character. So, one by one, if you remember, don't try to remember all the things together, but two, you remember, one more, you remember, like that, slowly, you can remember. Bimla in Clear Light of Day is the eldest sister of the Das family. There's a lot of backstory about the family, and also a part of the family history went through partition. So partition is important in Clear Light of Day. Jaya is in That Long Silence. She is also suffering from patriarchal oppression. That is what the title denotes. Urmi in Binding Wine is struggling to understand her husband's stepmother, publish her writings. At the same time, she's dealing with some other women also, Kalpana, Shakutai, etc. And there is a rape issue also involved. Indu is in Roots and Shadows. She's coming home to her ancestral house after a long time, and she's coming to terms with herself. So that's it. Ankita, you can read out the next one.
Lights Out is a play by Manjula Padmanabhan. Identify the characters who are not in this play. So who are the characters who are not here? Is it Bhaskar and Leela, Naina and Surinder, or Mohan or Nitin and Jiten? I can give you a clue. These characters are found in Mahesh Dattani's Bravely Fought the Queen. So they are not in Lights Out.
The wrong characters are found in Bravely
Yes.
Fought the Queen. Yes. In Lights Out, it is a play, very important. It's about rape and society's callousness towards rape and women. Bhaskar and Leela are a couple. Leela keeps hearing the sound of a woman crying out for help from a nearby unfinished house. And Bhaskar does nothing about it. Her husband does nothing about it. Mohan, Bhaskar's friend, is also not doing anything about it. And they are more interested in the juicy stories that are behind rape rather than helping the woman. Naina and Surinder are also a friendly couple. Surinder is angry about the men who are raping. He wants to beat them up, etc. But he is also callous towards the woman. The raped woman, nobody cares about. And finally, the rapist runs away. Nobody does anything. This happens in Santa Cruz in Mumbai. The contemporary playwrights like Manjula Padmanabhan, Mahesh Dattani, etc. Can be very important in your exam. So if you have time, just think of all their works. And Bravely Fought the Queen is a play by Mahesh Dattani. You all know Silence, the Court is in session. Ankita, could you please tell us the names of the other plays by Mahesh Dattani?
Yes. So some of the very important plays by Mahesh Dattani are Tara, then Seven Circles Round the Fire, 30 Days in September, then Brief Candle, which talks about cancer patients. Here, Bravely Fought the Queen also. Here we see two sisters, Dolly and Alka, who are married to these two brothers, Nitin and Jitin, and they are not really happy in their married life because Nitin is a gay person who does not love his wife, Alka, and Jitin is a very macho man who doesn't really believe in respecting women and treating them equally. So Dolly is also not happy. So again, Brief Candle talks about cancer patients. 30 Days in September, it talks about the sexual abuse often girls go through in their own families. And then Tara, it talks about the conjoined twins and how the girl who was actually born in an advantaged situation, she was not favored because she was a girl, but her brother was favored. So these are some of the important plays. And again, Seven Circles Round the Fire. Yes.
On a Muggy Night.
Yes, on a muggy night in Mumbai, it talks about the homosexual life of,
Kamlesh.
Yes, of Kamlesh in Mumbai. So this
Dance
is
Like a Man, where there is a will, final solutions. There are other plays. Okay, thank you, Ankita. Now, identify the writer who was a poet, teacher, president of a nation, and the proponent of negritude theory. Negritude is a group of Francophone intellectuals. They were Africans, but they lived in France. They were intellectuals in France. Among them, we have Léopold Sédar Senghor, Aimé Césaire, Léon Damas. And the answer is Léopold Sédar Senghor. He was the president of Senegal. And he was also a writer. Ankita, your take on the next one.
Okay. So again, identify the author and the work. The Famished Road, The Island, America, There, America, The River Between. And here we have their authors, Athol Fugard, Ben Okri, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, J.P. Clark. So as you all know, The Famished Road, this writer won the Booker Prize for The Famished Road. It talks about the spirit child, Azaro, a Bhikkhu child, yes.
So please explain the answers, match the answers.
Yes. So here, The Famished Road is by Ben Okri. The Island, it's a work by Athol Fugard. America, There America, it is by J.P. Clark. And The River Between, it's a novel by Ngugi wa Thiong'o.
Right. These post-colonial writers could be important for your exam as well, reminding you to collect your thoughts on these writers. Okay. Name the writer who wrote a response to Shakespeare's The Tempest and a discourse on colonialism. Is it Frantz Fanon, Amy Césaire, Du Bois, or C.L.R. James? Ankita?
It is Amy Césaire who wrote Une Temte, based on The Tempest.
Yeah. Une Tempete, actually. T-E-M-P-E-T-E. Yeah. Ralph Singh is a character in Naples. Ankita, please. Answer is given here.
Yes.
Made a mistake.
Okay. So Ralph Singh is the protagonist. He's actually a politician character in V.S. Naipaul's Mimic Men. We see that he's in exile, right? And he's trying to write his memoirs. So this state of exile is also very important. It's a metaphor for both, physical exile and exile from the self. We see this metaphor of the self in works, especially of diasporic literature. In works of Meena Alexander, V.S. Naipaul, Jhumpa Lahiri, this idea of exile is a constant metaphor to show that this exile is not only the exile of the body, but also of the self. And the other works here of V.S. Naipaul, like A House for Mr. Biswas, Miguel Street, An Area of Darkness, this is also very important. As you know, it talks about, again, a sense of isolation and alienation. And please be careful about the chronology of these novels.
And in Mimic Men, Ralph Singh is exiled from his island Isabella because of corruption. He's sitting in London and writing his memoir. Okay. Dash attempts to explain both the operation of the modern prison and its failure. Options are the scientific system, natural justice, the carceral system, and pleasure principle. This is just an English language question. It is not a high theory question because carceral means prison. In Michel Foucault's concept of panopticon, we talk about the carceral archipelago. Michel Foucault talks about the modern prison as a carceral archipelago in the panopticon. And panopticon is the idea that the modern state is like a prison. An all-seeing central watchtower is there. And it controls everybody by passive violence. Ayyo, again answer. Ankita?
Okay, so name the theorist who discussed equivalence of three types: intersemiotic, interlingual, and intralingual. As you can see, here it is Roman Jakobson, but it is very important to understand that these three terms, it actually explains the triadic division of translation, which was made by Roman Jakobson in his very important work on linguistic aspects of translation. This work was published in 1959, and these three terms actually refer to the three types of translations which we can see according to Roman Jakobson. Okay, and he emphasized intralingual and interlingual translations with verbal signs as reference and dealt less with intersemiotic translation. So these are three types of translation he talked about.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. Roman Jakobson. Remember that he also talked about translation. He wrote about communication. He developed model of communication. He talked about metaphor and metonymy, the two poles of language. In the essay, two aspects of language and two types of aphasic disturbances. He also wrote the famous work, Linguistics and Poetics. Roman Jakobson was a very important figure in Prague linguistic circle. He was a Russian formalist. Every human society has its own shape, its own purpose, its own meanings. These are words in dash. Is it culture is ordinary, the neoliberal tradition, encoding, decoding, or the meaning of new times? Ankita?
Okay, so here the answer is culture is ordinary, by Raymond Williams. And what do we mean by this? It's a work where Raymond Williams challenged the then prevalent notion that culture is a phenomena possessed by social elites and educated highbrows, and he attempted to replace it with a more expansive vision of culture as something which can be commonly found at all levels of a social hierarchy. That's why he said that every human society has its own shape, its own purpose, its own meanings, and culture is ordinary. It was a very famous statement by Raymond Williams.
And it's also the title of an essay. He has written an essay called Culture is Ordinary as well. Very good. Thank you very much. The following statement is written by which of the authors given below? Could fulfillment ever be felt as deeply as loss? This was a net question. It is somebody who wrote about loss. Is it Arundhati Roy, Kiran Desai, Shashi Tharoor, or Rohinton Mistry? It's a very easy question, but I'm reminding you, they may ask you such quotations or excerpts, and you will be required to find out who said it. But there may be a clue there in the quote itself. So, is it Arundhati Roy who wrote God of Small Things and Ministry of Utmost Happiness? Or is it Kiran Desai who wrote the Inheritance of Loss? What do you think, Ankita?
Yes, it is option B, Kiran Desai. She also wrote Halla Ballu in the Guava Orchard.
Yes. Which are the major works of Shashi Tharoor and Rohinton Mistry?
Rohinton Mistry wrote many works like A Fine Balance,
Such a Long Journey, Fine Balance,
Such a Long Journey,
Family Matters. Shashi Tharoor's famous non-fiction and fiction works. Non-fiction, they might ask, because An Area of Darkness, because Shashi Tharoor is also Malayali, and because this is Kerala set, they can ask questions on Shashi Tharoor. So please look him up before the exam. Identify the wrong pair. They can ask you something from Indian aesthetics in Kerala set. Because these days, everywhere we have Indian aesthetics questions, Indian literature questions. So if some people who are interested in Indian culture and aesthetics are setting the question paper, obviously, these questions can come. Which is wrong here? Bhavabhuti, Uttara Ramacharita, Phasa, Urubhanga, Rajashekhara, Rajatarangini, or Somadeva, Katha Sarit Sagara. The answer is easy. It is Kalhana who wrote Rajatarangini. It is Kalhana. Bhavabhuti wrote Uttara Ramacharita, Bhasa wrote Urubhanga, and Somadeva wrote Katha Sarit Sagara. Okay. Would you like to read out, Ankita? This is your question.
In which of the following texts was the slogan Vande Mataram coined? Anandamat, Mrinalini, Durgesh Nandini, or Kapal Kundala. So all these are novels by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, and the clue is happiness. So if you know what happiness means in Hindi, yes.
I got it. It is Anandamat. So Bankim Chandra Chatterjee is the person who coined the term Vande Mataram in Anandamat. When did Thomas Babington Macaulay present his Minutes on Education, advocating English education in India? Remember, in Kerala set, a lot of questions can come from the education sector, the history of English committees, etc., which is a very, very relevant in NET and other set exams also. Is it 12th March 1835, 2nd February 1835, 22nd January 1835, or 5th May 1835? This was also a NET question. Do you remember, Ankita, when was the Minutes on Education presented?
It is 2nd February 1835, yes.
It is 2nd February 1835. Macaulay's Minute has come in Kerala set before several times. So please do look that up as well. Ankita, your turn. Your turn.
Which two of the following essays form part of Mikhail Bakhtin's The Dialogic Imagination 4 essays? From the history of novelistic discourse, discourse in the novel, romance and novel, forms of type, and the chronotope in the novel.
There are two essays that you have to identify here. They are discourse in the novel and forms of time and chronotope in the novel. when you get questions from literary theory, I have found that some questions are really tough in Kerala set. So please look up Bakhtin. Among all the theorists, many theorists you could get, Bakhtin is a very important candidate for set exam. Okay. We already looked at Foucault. I hope you will look up Foucault as well. Who among the following says that ideology is a representation of the imaginary relationship of individuals to their real conditions of existence? That's a very famous statement made by a Marxist critic. Ideology was discussed by Karl Marx also. But who said this? Ideology is a representation of the imaginary relationship of individuals to their real conditions of existence. Is it Frederick Jameson, Herbert Marcuse, Louis Althusser, or Terry Eagleton? The answer is Louis Althusser. He said, ideology is a representation of the imaginary relationship of individuals to the real conditions of existence. Ankita, what else did Louis Althusser say?
He also talked about interpellation, that how we are interpellated or manipulated by the elites, right? So another very important idea other than ideology is interpellation by Louis Althusser. Herbert Marcuse was a very important personality associated with the New Left. He talked about his very important work is One-Dimensional Man. So do look up Herbert Marcuse also. And Terry Eagleton wrote many works. And Frederick Jameson, very important for postmodernism.
Right. It was Friedrich Engels who defined ideology as false consciousness. Friedrich Engels defined ideology as false consciousness. Okay. Now, Ankita, would you like to read?
Who among the following has coined the term ecofeminism? Is it Monique Wittig, Francois de Youbon, Helen Cizou, or Marguerite Duras?
Ecofeminism, where ecology meets feminism, is a term coined by Francois de Youbon. Very important is Eco-Critical Reader by Cheryl Glotfelty and Harold Fromm. Please look up eco-criticism and ecofeminism. Important books and authors. You might get a question there. Which two of the following are works by I.A. Richards? Concepts of Criticism, Science and Poetry, The Philosophy of Rhetoric, English Literature in Our Time and the University. The last one is by F.R. Lewis. I.A. Richards' two works. There are two here. They are Science and Poetry and The Philosophy of Rhetoric. I.A. Richards, F.R. Lewis, William Emerson, they're all favorite candidates of set question paper setters. Ankita, your question last.
Who of the following critiques is associated with the term contrapuntal reading? Is it Mikhail Bakhtin, Roland Barthes, Edward Said, or Jacques Derrida? He very famously, this theorist, did a contrapuntal reading of Mansfield Park by Jane Austen in Culture and Imperialism.
Contrapuntal reading means looking at the elements of the colonizer as well as the colonized from both perspectives. And it is Edward Said, the Palestinian writer. I sincerely hope that some of these questions and authors will become useful for you in your exam. I wish all the people who are writing Kerala set the very best. Thank you very much for attending this session. I hope all the people who are writing other exams also will find a lot of useful tips here. So good night. Wish you all the best from me and Ankita. Bye.
Bye.